Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much for waiting. We were preparing for live streaming on Facebook. Um I welcome you all the participants and panelists and experts on behalf of Development Communications Network to a webinar on industrial outlook in the new normal. We are passing through a very strange a situation at the moment, and pandemic has uh, disrupted everything that is related to economy or social life. But I believe soon it would end, and we have to live with a new normal because a situation won't be changing so soon. So we have we have started conducting different webinars for different industries. Our last webinar was about tourism, like where government of Pakistan is opening the sector after the Eid. And soon after the Eid, they are also planning to open all the industries with specific SOPs for industry. And this is the right moment, like where to discuss with the experts that what could be the possible SOPs after the Eid when government of Pakistan would be opening the industry, and what should be the mechanisms to implement SOPs. And we have two keynote speakers. Masroor Ahmed Khan is the National Program Coordinator for UNIDO. UNIDO that is more responsible for industry and agriculture, ensuring different SOPs that is globally recognized, and the organization is mandated to suggest various steps to government and other stakeholders in the industry and agriculture sectors. And the second keynote speaker is Dr. Nadeem Ahmed Khan, Head of Faculty of Human Resource Development Business. Thank you so much, my keynote speakers today, and we will be having some more participants as well. The format is that Masroor Ahmed Khan will begin with his presentation, and we may ask questions whenever we have to ask more information about the topic, or it is then Nadeem Ahmed Khan Saab. So 5 to 10 minutes or 10 minutes to 12 minutes of presentations will be done, and followed by question and answers. Then other participants, those who will be asking questions on Facebook, they will be put up to the participants. Thank you. Masroor Ahmed Khan Sahab, can I see you? Your video. Masroor Ahmed Khan Sahab. Masroor Ahmed Khan Sahab. Masroor Ahmed Khan Sahab.
Yes. I'm just trying.
Masroor Ahmed Khan Sahab, आप को मेरी आवाज आ रही?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please अपनी जरा वीडियो भी ऑन कर लें ताकि हम आपको देख भी सकें बात करते हुए. Very good. Thank you very much. जरा फ्रेम जरा सेट कर लें क्योंकि छत ज्यादा नजर आ रही है, आप कम नजर आ रहे हैं. जरा क्लोज हो जाएं. तो वो कुर्बतें बढ़ा लें हमारे साथ थोड़ी सी. ये this is good. The frame is quite good now. Thank you Masroor Saab for joining us, and अभी मैं आपका तारुफ करा रहा था. यू आर नेशनल प्रोग्राम कोऑर्डिनेटर विद यूनिडो, और यूनिडो का हमने उसको बताया कि वो वर्कर्स के साथ और इंडस्ट्री के साथ जो है जो ग्लोबली एक्सेप्टेबल प्रैक्टिसेस हैं वो उनको मेन स्ट्रीम करते हैं. और तो गो हेड. ये जो इस वक्त पैंडेमिक सिचुएशन चल रही है हमारे पाकिस्तान के अंदर, और ईद के बाद जो है पाकिस्तान गवर्नमेंट जो है वो कोशिश कर रही है कि इंडस्ट्री सारी जो है वो खुल जाए, तो वो कौन सी एहतियाती तदाबीर होनी चाहिए? व्हाट शुड बी दी मैकेनिज्म्स टू इम्प्लीमेंट SOPs and engaging all the stakeholders? So go ahead, please.
Thank you, Dr. Saab, Dr. Munir Saab. Can you have my slide
Yes,
presentation that you have?
yes, I have. अगर आपके पास है तो आप भी शेयर कर लें उधर से, हम आपको स्क्रीन शेयरिंग कर लेते हैं.
Okay.
हाँ, स्क्रीन शेयरिंग.
Are you allowing me to?
यस, आई अलाउ यू, लेकिन आप जरा अपना फ्रेम जरा थोड़ा सा सेट करें, फिर वापस चला गया. हाँ, ये रखें फ्रेम, ताकि ज़्यादा बेहतर रहे, क्योंकि ये वीडियो बाद में मुख्तलिफ जगहों पे जानी है. तो हम आपको अलाउ कर रहे हैं. आप जी, आपकी स्लाइड आ गई जी, पीपीटी आ गई. प्लीज गो अहेड.
Thank you,
सर.
Yes, the today's topic is very pertinent to the current situation, especially in Pakistan. In fact, the pandemic related to COVID-19 is one of the biggest challenges that we have in the current millennium. There are many things that can be potentially addressed, and that can also bring some opportunities as well for new normal. So we will talk about it. What are the way ahead for Pakistani industry in this current situation? Let me talk about basically what we mean by economic disruptions. If you talk about recession, economic pressures and incentives, we have to put into the perspective that aligns with the problems at hand. Any problem which is bound to disrupt is at least one of them. One of them means we have to talk about three channels of economy, namely supply, demand, and finance. So whenever we talk about any interrupting situation as the pandemic has, we have to think about three channels. Let me discuss it one by one. When we talk about demand channel, basically any sudden fall in employment, for example, which is happening now, is developing a certain scenario where the demand is being shrinking. So in order to have good administrative capacity, the fiscal space to buttress the social protection systems and protect private incomes in developing countries, which are very inevitable, we need to carry out the new normal as far as the demand is concerned. The second supply is the supply channel. On the supply channel, it is not wrong to assume that a sudden stop of manufacturing activities in the most affected regions will cause bottlenecks in global value chains. So for the exporting industries, mainly, the global value chains are very important. If you are not going to meet the demand of the global value chains from the supply side, this disruption will in turn trigger widespread factory closures for lack of intermediary inputs, even in the zones still immune to the virus. The third thing is, which is very important as far as the economy is concerned, is a financial channel. A classic transmission of exogenous shocks to the real economies, where financial markets, they become part of the economy. So you see that the markets are falling, and the household wealth is contracting. And whatever we have saved will certainly be moved up, and the consumption will fall. So there must be a way to meet all the three challenges which is connected to the economic perspective. Now, we know that Pakistan is having a very suitable and good perspective on that, and they are working hard on how to tackle this challenge. But as far as the UNAIDO is concerned, UNAIDO, as you know, it's globally acting as several good success stories. It's putting all its effort, and in Pakistan, I can tell you that UNAIDO, in collaboration with the other UN agencies, is putting its contribution in supporting the government of Pakistan through planning division to come up with this challenge. So what we are doing right now at the global level, I'm going to share with you. So we have two things when we talk about this challenge. One is the response phase, and the other is the recovery phase. Alhamdulillah, in the response phase, you know that the pandemic is slowing down, it's fading down, and Pakistan's RT value, that is the reproduction rate of the virus, is coming to 0.7. So Pakistan, Alhamdulillah, is in the range of those countries where the pandemic is fading down. So now what we should think? We should think about the recovery phase. The success of the pace of the recovery certainly will depend crucially on policies undertaken during the crisis. If the policies ensure that workers do not lose their jobs, renters and homeowners are not evicted, companies avoid bankruptcy, and business and trade networks are preserved, the recovery will occur sooner and more smoothly. So this is the United Nations Industrial Development Organization response for this specific approach will target the recovery phase. What is the potential impacts on the industry? You can see that we have several impacts like unemployment, poverty, macroeconomic impact, financial impact, and trade impact. So the industrial sector in all developing countries will be in a state of disarray in the COVID recovery phase. UNIDO needs an effective response to support them with the challenges they will face. So you see these 5 challenges are to be taken in parallel if you want to recover from this phase. So what is important now? When we talk about the recovery phase, we first need to have an assessment of the impact of COVID-19 on the country's industrial sectors. You see that the assessments contains the scale and duration of the pandemic in the country, the degree of existing linkage of the country's enterprise into regional and global value chain, the survival rate of the industrial enterprises, impact on the health and welfare of the country's population, the extent to which those regional and global value chains were disrupted by the pandemic, and the nature of the industrial sector of the country. Then we must also have some desired future goals as well for the industrial sector. Because if you do not have any goals, you cannot proceed. For example, the goals included food security, employment creation, retention, improved matching of the country's supply and demand of critically important products, pandemic preparedness, economic resilience, minimize impact on the global climate through sustainable consumption and production, and disadvantaged groups benefit from the recovery of the industrial sector. So the assessment and the identification of the goals, you come up with a plan so that you must have now a consensus with the key national stakeholders. Then we should have a COVID-19 industrial recovery plan. And this plan should be piloted, which priority on the regional value chain cluster development, and then replicating this pilot to achieve regional industrial sector recovery. So the phase 1 is basically the assessment and the analysis. There's much to say about it, but the main thing is that a detailed assessment report on the national industrial sector, which is based on macro, meso, and micro, in each supported country shall be prepared to be used by the national government to agree with the key national stakeholders on the nature of the industrial sector. Then the phase 2. Phase 2 have, that the industrial sector is likely to have suffered significantly during the lockdown phases. So enterprises that were dependent on the global value chains will have significantly harmed, and most enterprises will have been damaged during national lockdowns, and some will not have survived. So we should have a broad national database that should be established with the support of agencies like UNIDO, where the analytical data can be provided, with the aim of understanding the new reality of the pandemic and assisting stakeholders to agree a robust consensus. Munir Saab, are you getting?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
हम verb concentration से आपको सुन रहे हैं.
Okay. So then came the phase 3. developing a national industrial recovery plan. So based on assessment that we had made, based on the stakeholders consultation, we shall have an industry recovery plan. The National Industrial Recovery Plan will be based on achieving the agreed national consensus and will identify like key national value chains in which local production centers should be developed. Existing national legislation regulation which needs to be revised and new national legislation regulation needs to be introduced in order to support the growth national and regional value chains designated as of national importance. Some funding resources, of course, the funding resources, how can fund these plans for the implementation of these plans. So funding resources for the recovery program, like commercial, state funded, or from development financial institutions. Then support programs to be implemented at the enterprise level, which aims to develop national regional value chains and support existing enterprises to realign of value chains. The phase 4 is piloting national industry sector recovery. So this recovery and piloting would be consisting of several stages, like selection of priority value, selection of cluster development, identification of pilot enterprises, implementation of the enterprise-specific upgrading program, and monitoring of each enterprise-specific upgrading program. The phase 5 is replicating pilot success to achieve national industry sector recovery. So of course, if the pilot programs has done success, this can be replicated to other sectors as well. So the ways in which an enterprise successfully upgraded will be communicated through an effective communication and demonstration campaigns to public and tell other enterprises that there exists a provable and implementation way. So as I said earlier that although COVID pandemic has bring us with several problematic situations for us, and but of course there is silver lining as well. We can have some new normals like new investment avenues which can be searched. For example, food processing. Due to health hazards that unpacked food poses, the demand for canned food and packages food is expected to increase. So the manufacturing sector could put some focus on this as well. Then we have consumer goods. The need for sanitization will radicalize, which is certainly radicalizing the consumer goods and other household products. For example, we already seeing the demand for hand sanitizers, cleaners, antibacterial soaps, and antibacterial detergents, and so on. And certainly, even after the COVID situation, I don't think that the demand of these things will reside as much. Then we have third avenue, the logistics. This has come very strongly in the pandemic situation, that the dependence on the traditional logistical solutions are proved to be detrimental in the wake of this crisis. So now we have digitally equipped and contactless logistic solutions available, which are now coming day by day with improvements in the service delivery. So of course, because the people are seeing the advantages of these digital logistic solutions, I think this is here to stay. Then, of course, e-commerce. E-commerce is a budding e-commerce industry and investor-friendly consumer policy. Pakistan is already working towards attractive investment, and I think this is the situation where we can also take advantage of the policy guidelines. Then, of course, nonetheless, the health technology. Health technology, now you see that establishing a new form of health solutions from disinfectants, walkthrough to health chatbots. This pandemic has pushed technology into providing us with health solutions. Use of Internet of Things and simulation is speeding up the process of testing new medicine. So technology powered by artificial intelligence is helping tracking the outbreak, clean hospital. So all these things which we have so far investing on, it can be utilized in the health sector apart from this coronavirus. So protection in the digital world is another avenue. now the organizations is evolving, so we have much greater amount of data which is generated and which is used. So how we came up, how can we came up with the with some sort of arrangement where this data can be used in a more advanced way and taking more leverage of this data. So this is being not just protecting the organization from unauthorized access, but also ensuring that etiquette measures are in place to protect the privacy of the individual from being outside the organization. And of course, then we have tourism. We are seeing a much hue and cry from the industry of tourism, but I think now the situation is easing out. We shall be seeing an easing out for the tourism industry as well. But what the public and private sector need to do is to collaborate to help the industry cope with the impact of the COVID-19 while preparing it for responsible tourism. I'm taking this term, responsible tourism, when the travel restrictions are lifted. To support the tourism sector, purposeful restrictions on outward travel and encouraging local tourism is a substitute. So the last choice at the bottom line is which is very close to my heart, is that whatever investments and whatever things are to be done, the most important thing now what we have done is the adoption of sustainable consumption and production. So because I think we will be having several threats apart from the current threat we have due to human wellness, as far as the environment consideration is also, we are facing climate change and many other things which are detrimental to the further growth of the industrial sector. SCP, sustainable consumption and production, is a key to building back stronger and more resilient societies. In the wake of COVID-19, choosing more efficient production methods and implementing better use of natural resources is one of the most effective ways to reduce our impact on the environment while simultaneously advancing. So with that, I will end my presentation if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Masoor Ahmed Khan Sahab, for presenting wonderful framework for the new normal. Before some Nadeem Saab or Anwarul Haq Sahab ask any question, I would request you, like how UNIDO can play a role in the opening of industry after Eid. Like while government is preparing some SOPs for it, but so far I come to know they have no proper SOPs framework for opening the industry. So how you can help government out in developing SOPs and its implementation on the ground? Do you?
Yes, Dr. Munir Saab, as I earlier told you that we are already contributing with other UN agencies to support the government of Pakistan on the planning side. We have suggested many things for economic resurgence for the industry. So industry, certainly this is a private and public partnership that can elevate us from this situation. So the planning division of the government of Pakistan is already in touch with UNIDO through our UN office, which have another 18 agencies working simultaneously, because the government has suggested us that apart from having separate contributions from each of the 19 agencies of the UN, they want us to give us a joint support from a joint UN platform that we are doing right now.
Okay. Okay, that's great. Nadeem Saab, do you have any question to Masoor Ahmed Khan Saab?
Exactly, Ji. One very simple question. Government and Mansoor Saab, Assalamu alaikum. Government and other stakeholders are preparing SOPs for industries, and inshallah they will work under these SOPs and perform, and inshallah they will get through from these pandemic situation and they recover their losses. But what about those industries which is suffered heavily? like hotel industry, like tourism industry. Similarly, those industries which may be at the edge of the closing their businesses, the small industries, how a small businessman survive in post-pandemic situation?
Yes, this is the most important question because you are just asking me about the small and medium enterprises. We also talked this matter with the SMEDA, Small Medium Enterprising Development Authority. They have also come up with their own survey, and they are also in touch with the planning division of government of Pakistan. You know that after 18th amendment, many of the subjects has been transferred to provincial governments. So when we talk about SOPs, when we talk about plans concerning the industrial sector, there is much depending upon the provincial policies as well. But let me tell you that UNIDO on its part is certainly is working more focusing on the marginalized communities, marginalized sectors like that you already talked about. And we are, whatever we have contributed, even in planning with the government of Pakistan, it hinges on policies based on these sectors. We know that the government of Pakistan is now also working to start like touring industry. They are working to start it in the SOPs. So the government is doing take into consideration the economic aspects of these marginal sectors. So as far as UNIDO is concerned, our focus is certainly on SME. And this is the important thing, I think, which is taken into consideration. But I think now it's up to government how to devise these policies, whether they want to focus on these sectors, whether they have that budgetary allocations or not. So this all depends on the government priorities.
मसरूर साहब, मेरा एक सप्लीमेंट्री क्वेश्चन है कि आप ज़ाहिर है कि यू विल बी हेल्पिंग आउट, गवर्नमेंट इज़ प्रिपेयरिंग, लेकिन क्या ये सेक्टर वाइज होगा या एक जेनरिक एसओपीज का सेट है जो प्लानिंग कमीशन के साथ मिलकर तय होगा? और आपने देखा होगा कि वी हैव सीन देयर वाज ऑलवेज अ रिफ्ट बिटवीन प्रोविंसेस and federal and the center on different policies. When you are asking, you're saying like government would be the entire new normal situation and SOPs would depend on the provincial policies. If they are totally different to each other, what would be happening? Don't you think like it would be more chaotic situation? Masroor Saab.
Munir Saab, basically, when you see how we have tackled this pandemic situation is through NCOC, National Command Center, which has all the linkages with the provincial ministries as well. So what we are talking about is that the federal government certainly brings with a framework, the framework on which all the provincial governments get a consensus on. So, and then the implementation on this framework is certainly the subject of the provinces. So because government cannot intervene into implementation process that is done by the government. So they come up with a framework, they have a consensus on it, and then from here, the provinces take on. There are some, of course, we have seen that certain matters have been negotiated between the governments of provinces and the federal government. There were some difficulties in having consensus, but I think by and large, the things have moved on. So I hope that in the future, the things will move on as well.
Okay, okay. Last question, Masroor Saab. What is the status of preparation of SOPs in collaboration with the UN agencies altogether, with the Government of Pakistan and Planning Commission?
The SOPs are the subject of the government because we come up with the general guidelines according to the regional and global experience that we have. The work of doing SOPs lies with the government of Pakistan. We can have general guidelines for them, but we cannot put SOPs as a guidelines.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Masoor Ahmed Khan Saab, for wonderful presentation, followed by like questions. And I'm really glad that UN agencies are all together providing backbone support to government of Pakistan to develop SOPs. And definitely your role would be very crucial, like in the phase of implementation as well, when taking up provinces and center all together to communities for the implementation. Thank you so much. Now I would like to go to Dr. Nadeem Ahmed Khan Saab. Dr. Nadeem Ahmed Khan Saab, you are a professor at Pakistan Institute of Development Economics University. Development economics is a concept is usually very limited understood. Understood very, we have a very limited understanding about development economics, though it, provides more crucial and backbone support to the entire economy of the country. This is aside, but like in the new normal, that is now the situation is getting normal, and we have to, in a very specific industrial outlook, what do you see, like how, what would be the entire scenario for the human resource engaged in this sector, while like millions would be losing jobs. And still, after when you open up the industry, there would be some danger, some risk, some responsibilities on the industry towards their workers and human resource. These 3, 4, 5 questions, how you would respond to it. And I think we have to share your PowerPoint presentation as well. Initial statement, and then yes, we see your presentation, Dr. Nadeem Ahmed Khan Saab. Please go ahead.
Okay, Munir sir, thank you very much for your invitation and for a very difficult question. Okay.
Nothing is difficult for you, Dr. Nadeem Saab.
Basically, when we are talking to the Pakistan, especially for the business and the HR, the demand and supply side of the HR, it's very different from the other developed countries, basically. In developing countries, we do not have a very good economic situation. We do not have a very big businesses. So many people think that Pakistan or Pakistani organizations are the talent repellent country. But maybe this is not true. Or the important question is that either the Pakistani organizations and big organizations need a talent which can compete in other big companies like Google and Microsoft and GM Motors. So before starting my presentation, I want to share the business situation of a pre-COVID-19 situation. Okay, what is the business? Okay, business, basically the business environment and the business ecosystem already shifted from industrial economy to knowledge-based economy. And more precisely in the same way as the machine substitute human and animal workforce a few centuries ago. And now the knowledge has substituted manual work. As a base for industrial production, this is the future that has already happened. So this is the situation of pre-COVID-19 situation. And what was happening in the business world? Basically, all the business are shifted from industrial manufacturing to design economy. And economic growth can no longer come either from putting more people to work, that is from more resource input as much of it has in the past, or from increase in consumer demand. It can come only from a very sharp and continuing increase in the productivity of the one resource in which the developed countries still have a competitive edge, and which they are likely to maintain for a few more decades. Knowledge work and knowledge worker. This is today we need a knowledge work and knowledge worker. Now the terminologies are using the high performing workforce. And since last 5 to 10 years, the simple specialist jobs are vanished. Lot of the jobs are vanished, and different statistics says that 30% jobs are vanished in upcoming 5 years. The whole economic system has been trying to adopt to this transformation, and which is mainly visible in the transformed way of value creation. Now today the business is the value creation. It's not the, if we want to increase the productivity, if we want to double the productivity of the organization, so we do not increase the input. Basically we decrease the input and go to the design economy. Similarly, the very famous Microsoft, Mr. Ballmer said, okay, we want to add more value every year for less money. This is the basically the business situation, the pre-COVID era. So not much different in this after the post-COVID period. Now the questions. I raised the 4 or 5 questions to answer this. We collectively we must try to find out these questions. What would be the future of jobs? Now jobs are changing. Definitely the routine jobs, the routine practices are not valid. Second is, what will the key skills in demand? And the bigger question for our universities, for our educational institute or the nurseries of the human workforce, are they adopting these practices? Are they ready to produce such workforce with the equipped of these skills? How will the organizations and industries work? Now the Toyota and other companies already shifted on the knowledge economy. Yes, we are struggling because of the poor economic conditions, but the Pakistani organization and Pakistani business men very quickly adopt these practices. And another question, how will the operations be carried out? Now, definitely the robotics, artificial intelligence, they all are introduced in the business. And what will be the requisite key skills? Yesterday I worked and found a very good study, the Nike. The Nike, if I want to clear my argument with this example, if we discuss the business model of the Nike, we all know the Nike's the most favorite and the most demanding product is the shoe, sports shoe. But Nike do not have any shoe manufacturing industries across the world. Nike's business model is building a true global brand, and Nike focuses on design and development. Nike focus on contract management. Nike does not own any manufacturing site and produce all its product through the independent contractors. So Nike business is it's knowledge-based business. But Nike involved in the knowledge economy in the design phase, and then Nike do not have any manufacturing plant. So if they do not have any manufacturing plant, so they do not need SOPs to run the plant. So this is the business model, and they are surviving in the pre-COVID-19 era and during this and after the COVID-19. Now, productivity of organizations depend. Basically, what is the productivity and how productivity affect after your post-COVID-19 period? A human reliance on machines and robots. Definitely the machines and robots are more demanding as compared to the humans. Similarly, less human interface will be preferred, which will result in lesser number of jobs. So definitely jobs will be cut if some organization has 100,000 employees. Maybe it's my guess and it's my study. After the COVID period, maybe the size of the organization with respect to the workforce, it's lesser as compared to the today. World is already of the view, and robotics machine may be the weapon the world need to compete the robotics, the machines, and all things are used. And similarly, the system will be automated and will be made functional with lesser human interface. And few things are very important. One is the critical thinking. Critical thinking, complex problem solving, creativity, interdisciplinary knowledge, automation, economy design will be the requisite skill in the job. If a person does not has these skills, so in future it's very difficult he get the job in good organizations or demanding organizations. Similarly, the concept is the work from anywhere. Recently, after the Trump decision of foreign students, the big universities like Harvard and MIT introduce a concept of the learning from anywhere. If you are in the car garage, if you are in the Pakistan, if you are in the Ethiopia, you can learn in these universities. The concept of teaching and all these things are changed. Similarly, artificial intelligence, as Mansoor Saab said, machine learning, control system, and data science. I am also talking about the data science. Data science, the data analysis, and as you see in initial time of the coronavirus, lot of people, lot of statisticians, lot of analysts analyze the situation, what will happen, what is the growth rate of the pandemic, and all are swimming in the ocean of the statistics. If we compare the Pakistan with the other countries, and if we take the figures of the government of Pakistan, in Pakistan there is a very different situation. Like Spain, like America, like Germany, like Brazil, like Russia, we are in a very good position as compared to the other countries. Now the important thing are what skills needed for the HR. The first is the adaptability and flexibility. If a person is not adaptable and flexible, difficult to remain in this corporate world. Recently, the big oil company, the Halliburton, reduced their staff in Pakistan and Middle East. And similarly, the Walgreens and other tour operating and forwarding agencies, almost they are working with a 20% staff. Yesterday, the big company, Tata company, reduced their staff. Almost they fired 400 people from their organizations. So adaptability and flexibility is the key skill for the future appointment and for the future of HR. Secondly, tech savviness. Yes, this is very important. One of the best way to prepare yourself for the post-coronavirus world is to acquire technologies. The COVID-19 pandemic is fast-tracking digital transformation in companies as they are trying to become more resilient to future outbreak. In the period of the corona, we see the Amazon, Alibaba, and like all these online businesses earn hell of money, and they increase their revenue and many things. Now the Walmart, the biggest departmental change, announced they are also adopt the online businesses. So if Walmart come in the online businesses field, so maybe this is the big threat and challenge for the Amazon and other companies. Similarly, the creativity and innovation. Yes, the creativity and innovation is always required in the industrial world and in the business world. But now, in the post-corona COVID-19 period, we have already seen the importance of the creativity and innovation during the pandemic. Many organizations shift in different mode of learning, different mode of businesses. Even the media person now, the webinar, the online conversations and all this. Especially in my organization, PIDE, almost we conduct 3 to 4 webinars on different national economics and development economics topics. The fifth skill is the critical thinking. The critical thinking, basically, it's the out-of-box thinking. Now we need a different business ecosystem. Now different business strategic planning. we need a people, those can think like a critically and develop the new business model. Digital and coding skills, yes, now we need a more programmers, analysts, and computer people. Leadership, yes, this is very important. The leadership, you can understand the role of the leadership in the economic development and the development of the business. One of the changes in the world that is heavily augmented by the support of the machine, and where social and home working might continue for the foreseeable future. The leader must see what will be happen in the future after 3 years, after 2 years, after 1 year. Now all the business need a new strategic plan. And if the leadership do not have these characteristics and these skills, how they survive in the future? Because in the corporate world, we have a very cutthroat competition. And after the globalization, it is difficult to compete in the locally geographical area. Now, if you produce something in Chichavatni, so definitely you compete with the Californians manufacturer. And similarly, it's a global world, different law. So we need a proper leadership, corporate leadership. They introduce new concepts of the business. Emotional intelligence, yes. After COVID, when people come to the offices and come to the organizations in manufacturing plants, they feel some threat of pandemic, threat of disease. So they need emotional intelligence, the balance of the emotions. So organization like, as Mansoor Saab said, UNIDO and other organization and government of Pakistan also working on that. So I mean, the important thing is basically government and other stakeholders should develop people feel safe. And if people and worker feel safe, definitely they can perform. The last skill is the commit to the lifetime of learning. Now, the old story is gone, the old concept is gone. I complete my studies and on the basis of my past degrees throughout the year. Now we are in the very challenging, very competitive world. Only those people are successful. They continuously learn new things, new situation, adopt their self in the new situation and new concepts. So this is a brief presentation, and what is the future of the HR and what the critical skill needed for the young generation. And basically we have 70% young population and more than 50% millennials. So millennials are very different people. They are not it's a sincere job or just tarah mere walid sahab karte the, it's my organization. No, they are not believing on that. The average shifting rate, every switching rate of millennial is just 3 years. Every millennial changed their job in 3 years. So we have to work collectively, organization, stakeholders, government, economic analysts, and then similarly the business experts. They have to develop the new business ecosystem. I am also repeating the business ecosystem. Thank you, Melissa. Sorry, you are not audible. जी.
इसको कर दें इसको. Thank you. Screen sharing बंद करते हैं बेशक. Thank you so much Nadeem Ahmed Khan साहब for your wonderful presentation. और आप भी ज़रा अपनी screen sharing ज़रा बंद कर दें. Yes, that's good. Now I can see you. बहुत अच्छी गुफ्तगू आपने की कि ये जो पोस्ट न्यू नॉर्मल जो है इसमें ह्यूमन रिसोर्स और बिजनेस की क्या सूरत हाल नज़र आती है. My question is, do you think like Pakistan is ready for such type of new normal?
Basically, in Pakistan, we are not competing with the world. We do not have a very big businesses, very big industries. In Pakistan, it's very difficult to survive now or compete in the international market. If we do like ISO 9000 certifications and other certifications, the international big businessmen or the big businesses only businesses with the certified organizations. Now the role of the certification, or maybe in the future we see the few new safety certification, like ISO 47,000, maybe the ISO 47,000 deal with the safety measures. Yes, in Pakistan, basically we do not have much money, much established businesses. Yes, few are. And the Pakistani brands, yes, in last football World Cup, the football was used, manufactured in Pakistan, but with the name of Adidas. So this is a difficult situation for Pakistani business to compete internationally and to improve their exports. Yes, they have to work a lot. They have to work on these all scenarios of the business.
Dr. Nadeem Sahab, do you think like it is a best time to promote quite strategically new businesses and the small businesses to improve their output, and how? For example, like you said, like we have like very vibrant and dynamic youth coming out of universities with new knowledge, with new technology that is based on knowledge, the new knowledge, I call. And do you think like instead of getting jobs for them, because jobs would be slashed down, as you said, like some of the companies, they are now operating at 20% of the human resource. So what else would be doing youth if we don't promote quite strategically the new startups? How it should be done?
Basically, there is an opportunity in every problem. If we think collectively and adopt the new processes of the business and introduce the entrepreneurship, startups, few organizations are working, Pakistani government are working, this current government also promote the entrepreneurship and startup scenarios and introduce the new concept of the businesses. Yes, but the important thing, in educational institute, these concepts must be introduced. And for the big industries and for the SMEs, it's difficult to adopt the new scenarios and new challenges, especially with respect to the investment, with respect to the knowledge, with respect to the creativity, and they cannot change the whole their workforce. So it's difficult. Yes, they face difficulty maybe in the next 2-3 years to cope up. The best thing, as you said, we have a lot of people under the 30 years age. So we introduce the entrepreneurship. If government promote the business, small business opportunities in the market and facilitate them, and universities teach them develop your own business rather than search the job. So definitely it's like a China before the 15-20 years, they go for the cottage industry, and similarly in the Bangladesh, Grameen Bank and other, they give the small loans and people develop their small businesses. The current China is based on the past cottage industry concept, especially in the Xinjiang and these Turkish China area. They had a lot of cottage industries, small industries, home industries, and people are engaged, and that's why they recover their people from the poverty line.
Right. Thank you very much. Of course, we have to. Masoor Ahmed Sahab, can you hear me? Masoor Sahab.
Yes, Munir Sahab. Yes, I can hear
Masoor
you.
Sahab, अपनी वीडियो भी जरा अगर ऑन कर लें ताकि हम आपको देख भी सकें if possible. Abhi, yes, it's a wonderful frame. It's a wonderful frame. Thank you. Dr. Nadeem Sahab से मैं अभी बात कर रहा था कि when the human resource will be, industry would be slashing down their staff. And Nadeem Sahab put up a point like we need to go for knowledge-based economy and engaging youth into different setups of the industry with नए businesses चीजें. तो मेरा सवाल ये था कि स्टार्टअप्स का कॉन्सेप्ट पाकिस्तान में भी आया है, लेकिन इट इज़ नॉट वेरी मच फ्लरिश्ड. How UNIDO can help young people coming up with new startups, technical, financial support. कोई ऐसा रूम निकलता है UNIDO के पास कि वो यूनिवर्सिटी से निकलने वाले जो नए लोग हैं, बजाय इसके कि वो फ्रस्ट्रेशन का शिकार होकर फिरते रहें, कोई UNIDO इंडस्ट्री अलायंस, UNIDO एकेडेमिया अलायंस ऐसा बने जिसमें नए लोगों को इनकरेज किया जाए, वो नए न्यू नॉर्मल में नई टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ नॉलेज बेस्ड स्टार्टअप्स जो हैं वो शुरू कर सकें. जी मसूर साहब.
मुनीर साहब, आपके सवाल जो है वो बड़े मुश्किल होते हैं, जो है वो पर्सपेक्टिव में मुश्किल है. देखें, जहाँ तक एकेडेमिया और इंडस्ट्री का सवाल है, ये बड़ी लंबी स्टोरी है. there is a long disconnect between academia and the industry. And why this is a disconnect? The main reason is that they both have different languages speaking to each other. So neither academia understand what industry is saying, nor the industry can contemplate what they are saying. There are different cultures in industry and academia. Academia is basically, they are research-oriented institutions, and probably now it must be changing, but historically we have seen that the people who are working in academia are not informing and not getting knowledge as far as the practical concern is here. I have been connected with the industry for the last 30 years in different positions and different responsibilities. I have seen that whatever we, I myself is a chemical engineer, and whatever I studied in my courses, when I started to appear in the industry, I said that the entire world is a different world. Whatever we studied during our courses, it was never implemented in the industry. And I used to pose so many questions to my bosses in the industry, so why are you not doing this and that? And they always used to say that just mind your own business. So, so I think there is certainly things which need to be addressed. As far as the UNIDO is concerned, from the project which I am heading right now is the energy efficiency and renewable energy project. And I had tried to bridge gaps between academia and industry as I can. For example, we have an implementation program of energy management system in 50 industrial units in Pakistan. So this is a hell of a work, because you know that energy is not the priority of the industry, but whether it is any industry, is a progress industry, is a SME or any industry, the priority is the production. So they do not want to invest in energy efficiency. So what we try to do is that we have hired several consultants and consortia into this work, because UNIDO do not implement, execute the project, but it hire people to do it. So around 10 consortia is taking the charge of doing implementation in industry. So 10 consortia that we called a joint consortia of several different consultants. So there are 10 different consortia. From these 10 consortia, I say that there are 4 consortia that belongs to academia. For example, NUST from Islamabad, UAT from Lahore, UAT Peshawar from KPK, and Bahria University from Karachi. They are participating in this program of implementation of energy management. So this is the way we are trying to engage academia to see how industry works, how we can manage, support industry to manage energy, vice versa. So in this way, we are trying to connect academia with the industry. But let me tell you that we are facing very, very tough questions during this implementation, because we are trying to guide academia. We are trying to change the culture of industry as well as the academia. We have to change the mindset of the doctors who are working with us, because you see in the academia there is certain level of mindset. Cannot talk very easily. So UNIDO is trying to do it. UNIDO is trying to fill the gap between industry and academia, but there are challenges we are facing day by day. So we are delivering as we can. We are contributing to away these gaps and trying to change the culture of both the academia and industry, and trying to come making these two to come together and do things together.
Okay.
So there are challenges.
Okay. Okay. Sir, thank you, Masroor Saab. Dr. Nadeem Saab, academia jo hai, why it is have like a specific mindset, and that does not correspond to the industrial you know, demand, and मतलब क्या मसला क्या है, मतलब क्यों आप लोग जो है बिल्कुल एक लिमिटेड, और ये सच्ची सी बात है. डॉक्टर नदीम साहब, रिसेंटली आई हैड गवर्नेंस एंड पब्लिक पॉलिसी डिग्री फ्रॉम नमल 2 years बैक. मेरे जो फैकल्टी थे ना, जो मेरे असातिज़ा थे, वो कहते हैं यार एक तो तुम पुट्ठे सवाल बहुत करते हो, एंड यू डोंट कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन द प्रेजेंटेशंस, और तुम पेपर में भी वो नहीं लिखते हो जो हम तुम्हें यहाँ पे पीपीटीज देते हैं, एंड दोज पीपीटीज वर years old. उसके अंदर करंट डाटा ही नहीं होता था. और आई यूज टू टॉक अबाउट कंटेम्प्रेरी पॉलिसी इश्यूज, कि भाई ग्लोबल इश्यूज ये चल रहे हैं, हाउ टू कॉरेस्पॉन्ड, क्लाइमेट चेंज ये चल रहा है, क्लाइमेट गवर्नेंस किधर है, या फलां जो वो है, तो कहते यार ये पुट्ठे सवाल ना किया करो. मतलब व्हाई यू आर नॉट ओपन टू पुट्ठे सवाल, डॉक्टर नदीम साहब?
अच्छा मुनीर साहब, थैंक यू फॉर अ डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन. मतलब लेकिन मैं इसको आंसर जरूर करना चाहूंगा कि द नंबर वन, पाकिस्तान में ऑलमोस्ट ऑल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जो हैं वो उनका डिक्लाइन है. या लास्ट मतलब जो 40-50 इयर्स में डिक्लाइन हुई. तो सिमिलरली इन द एजुकेशन, सो एजुकेशन इट्स नॉट इन द राइट ट्रैक. और जिस तरह वर्ल्ड में शिफ्ट हो गया कि एजुकेशन एंड एकेडमिया एंड इंडस्ट्रियल लिंकेज वो डेवलप नहीं हुआ. Now the HEC is trying to develop the relationship of academia and industry, as Masroor Saab said, on energy side they work with the NAST, Bahria, UAT and other things. Similarly, almost all universities establish a department with the name of the ORIC. ORIC also work on this. But as concerned to the in my institution, PIDE. PIDE, it's a different institution. We do not have the undergraduate program. We have only research-based degree, PhD and MS. We are not on the slide-based and other things. जो हमारा हर स्टूडेंट जो है, जो नेक्स्ट ईयर जो अभी हमारी नई लीडरशिप भी आई है, उनका एक डिफरेंट हुआ है. वी डोंट बिलीव ऑन द कंटेंट बेस्ड लर्निंग. हमने अब ये रख दिया कि आप क्लास में आए या ना आए, बट यू आर RA, रिसर्च असिस्टेंट. All students work with some senior researcher.
Okay.
और रिसर्च टॉपिक भी वो वाले नहीं है गैप के प्रोसीजरल जस्टिस है, नहीं कि ये जो आपका जो पूरा का पूरा स्पोर्ट्स कॉम्प्लेक्स है, अब ये इतना बड़ा कॉम्प्लेक्स है, बिलियंस ऑफ रुपीस की इन्वेस्टमेंट है, इसका फायदा क्या है? व्हाट वी अर्न दिस. सिमिलरली द अदर थिंग्स एंड अदर मार्केट्स, एग्रीकल्चर मार्केट्स एंड अदर, इस तरह के हमने अपने रिसर्च टॉपिक्स डेवलप किए हैं, एंड वी गिव टू द स्टूडेंट्स, एंड द PIDE स्टूडेंट्स आर वर्किंग ऑन दीज टॉपिक्स.
गुड.
तो वो जो मार्केट ओरिएंटेड है. अच्छा, हमने बहुत सारी इंडस्ट्रीज के साथ लिंकेज किया है, उनके अभी यूटिलिटी स्टोर्स के ऊपर हम एक काम कर रहे हैं, द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ द सब्सिडीज के ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं. सिमिलरली इन द रिसर्च सेक्टर, इन द एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर. तो PIDE इट्स अ डिफरेंट इंस्टीट्यूट एज कंपेयर टू द अदर पाकिस्तानी इंस्टीट्यूट. यस, आपकी बात देखो ठीक है, जिस तरह पाकिस्तान में अदर इंस्टीट्यूशन में डिक्लाइन आया, तो एजुकेशन में भी आया. डिफरेंट माइंडसेट बन गया, काम ना करने का माइंडसेट बन गया. फिर वो जो द इम्पोर्टेंट सेइंग इज द गवर्नमेंट जॉब इज द बेसिकली तो ससुराल होता है. तो वो कॉन्सेप्ट यस, जब सारी जगह से चेंज होगा, تو میرا خیال ہے کہ جیسے نسٹ نے بڑا بھی اس وقت پرفارم کر رہا ہے, نسٹ اٹس ڈوئنگ ویری گڈ تھنگ, سملرلی دا ادر یونیورسٹیز, اینڈ بہتر ہو جائے گی ایجوکیشن میرے خیال میں آنے والے 2-3 ایئرس میں بہتر ہو جائے گی, کیونکہ آپ دیکھیں یہی پاکستانی بچے پاکستان میں جن کو جاب نہیں ملتی, دے آر ورکنگ ابراڈ اینڈ پرفارم ویری گڈ.
بالکل صحیح. تھینک یو سو مچ ڈاکٹر ندیم احمد خان صاحب. Before to go to Javed Iqbal Saab. Javed Iqbal Saab is a focal person for Pakistan Association of Shipbreakers. ہم وہ ذرا شپ بریکنگ کی طرف بھی تھوڑا سا جائیں گے, اور اس پہ یونیڈو اور آپ کا بھی ذرا تھوڑا سا پوائنٹ آف ویو لیں گے کہ ان کی بات سن کے. لیکن بیفور گوئنگ ٹو جاوید اقبال صاحب, آئی ووڈ ریکویسٹ انوار الحق صاحب. جی انوار الحق صاحب, یور کمنٹس.
سر میرا ایک سوال یہ تھا کہ جو جدید ٹیکنالوجیز ہیں جیسے بلاک چین ہے, آرٹیفیشیل انٹیلیجنٹ ہے, آئی او ٹیز ہے, کیا ہمارے جو انسٹیٹیوٹ ہے ان کی کیپبلٹی ہے اس لیول کی کہ وہ انٹرنیشنل لیول کی جو ایجوکیشن ہے وہ دے پائیں؟ اور دوسرا سوال سر میرا منصور صاحب سے یہ تھا کہ ایس او پی تو جو ہے گورنمنٹ بنا رہی ہے, اس کی جو امپلیمنٹیشن ہے جو اسپیشلی اسمال بزنس والے ہیں وہ کس طرح کر پائیں گے؟ کیونکہ اس کے لیے سر آپ کو پتہ ہے فنڈز کی ریکوائرمنٹس ہوتی ہے تبھی یہ پوری ہوگی, اس حوالے سے کیا چیز ہو رہی ہے سر؟ تھینک یو سر.
ڈاکٹر ندیم صاحب, پہلا سوال آپ سے ہے. انمیوٹ کریں ڈاکٹر صاحب. ڈاکٹر صاحب انمیوٹ کر لیں.
جس طرح ابھی آپ نے دیکھا تھا کہ پریزیڈنٹ آف پاکستان نے بھی ایک آئی ٹی لٹریسی پروگرام شروع کیا تھا جس میں بلاک چین, آرٹیفیشیل انٹیلیجنس اینڈ ادر جو سافٹ ویئرس ہیں, اور وہ لوگ پڑھا رہے ہیں, لوگ اٹریکٹ ہو رہے ہیں, اور پاکستانی یونیورسٹیز کی ڈیفینیٹلی ایک کیپیسٹی ہے جو ماڈرن ٹیکنالوجیز ہے, بیکاز ناؤ دیر از نو جیوگرافیکل لمیٹیشنس. اب اگر آپ کے پاس اچھی فیکلٹی نہیں ہے تو یو کین ہائر فرام دا ابراڈ. اینڈ یہ جو اسپیشلی جو پوسٹ کووڈ نے جو کووڈ نے جو سب سے بڑا جو ایک پازیٹیو امپیکٹ کیا ہے سوسائٹی پہ, کہ اب وہ جیوگرافیکل دیکھیں میں اپنے آفس بیٹھا ہوا ہوں, آپ لوگ مختلف جگہوں پہ بیٹھے ہوئے ہیں, اور اٹس اے لرننگ سیشن, میں آپ سے سیکھ رہا ہوں, کچھ میں کنٹریبیوٹ کر رہا ہوں. تو وہ ایشو اب نہیں ہے کہ جی فیکلٹی اویلیبل نہیں ہے یا ایکسپرٹ اویلیبل نہیں ہے. اف یو افورڈ دیم تو دے آر اویلیبل آل اوور دا ورلڈ. ابھی ہم نے ایک کورس پورا کروایا ہے جو آن لائن کورس تھا, اور فیکلٹی واز ان یو کے. تو وہ ایشوز نہیں ہے, اس طرح کی ایشوز اب میرا خیال ہے کہ ختم ہو گئے. اور جو ٹیکنالوجی امریکہ میں انٹروڈیوس ہوتی ہے سیم ڈے نہیں تو نیکسٹ ڈے پاکستان میں اویلیبل ہوتی ہے.
زبردست. یہ کم از کم اور کوئی فائدہ ہوا نہ ہو, کم از کم یہ فائدہ ضرور ہوا ہے کہ پوری پاکستانی قوم میں سے زیادہ لوگ جو ہیں وہ جو نئی ٹیکنالوجی ہے اس کے استعمال کے بارے میں تھوڑے زیادہ بہتر ہو گئے ہیں. This is wonderful. And we had never seen online classes in Pakistan except like ممکن ہے کہیں پہ ہوتی ہوں لیکن میرے علم میں نہیں ہے. لیکن اب سارے اسٹوڈنٹس جو ہیں they are taking classes online at their convenience. ٹیچرس بھی پڑھا رہے ہیں سارا کچھ. کسی کی کلاس 10 بجے ہو رہی ہے, کسی کی صبح 8 بجے ہو رہی ہے. اور this is wonderful. I think there is opportunity in it to compete. جو آپ کہہ رہے تھے نا کوٹ اینڈ کوٹ کہ ہماری جو کمپیٹیٹیونیس, ورلڈ کمپیٹیٹیونیس ہے وہ اس لیول پہ نہیں ہے, لیکن میرا یہ خیال ہے کہ گریجولی اٹ وڈ امپروو. سیکنڈ کویسچن واز ایڈریس ٹو مسرور احمد خان صاحب. مسرور احمد خان صاحب, انوار الحق صاحب کا مسئلہ یہ ہے, وہ یہ کہہ رہے ہیں کہ میں بھی ایک چھوٹی سی ان کی اپنی فیکٹری ہے جس پہ وہ چیزیں بن رہی ہیں, اس طرح اور بھی بہت ساری وہ ہے اسمال اور میڈیم مائکرو انٹرپرائز, اس پہ تو آپ نے بات کی ہے کہ فنڈز نہیں ہیں اور انہوں نے اپنے ساتھ ورکرز رکھے ہوئے ہیں, اور وہ خاص انوائرمنٹ جو ایس او پیز کا جو بھی آئے گا اس کو امپلیمنٹ کرنا ہے. آپ نے تو اس کو فنڈز کے ساتھ جوڑ دیا ہے کہ فنڈز ہوں گے تو ظاہر ہے کہ وہ نئے انوائرمنٹ کو ڈیولپ کریں گے اور اپنی ہیومن ریسورس کو انگیج کریں گے. تو یہ مسئلہ ذرا ان کو انوار صاحب کو سمجھائیں نا کہ یہ کیسے ہوگا.
جی انوار صاحب, میری آواز آ رہی ہے آپ کو؟
جی آ رہی ہے.
جی انوار صاحب, بیسیکلی دیکھیں یہ ایک معاشیاتی مسئلہ بھی ہے اور ایک معاشرتی مسئلہ بھی ہے. آج کے دور میں اور خاص طور پہ ڈیولپنگ کنٹریز میں آپ یہ فورسنگ یا ایکسپیکٹ نہیں کر سکتے کہ گورنمنٹ جو ہے وہ ہر چیز آپ کو پرووائڈ کرے. اب آج کل کے اسپیس ایج میں اور ایک ایسے ایج میں جہاں پہ سوشل میڈیا جو ہے وہ بہت امپورٹنٹ ایک بن گیا ہے ہمارے لیے. تو اس میں آپ کو جو ہے وہ بہت ساری چیزیں خود اپنے طور پہ ایڈجسٹ کرنی پڑیں گی. اب یہاں پہ جہاں پہ ہم بات کیے کہ جو چھوٹے یونٹس ہیں یا چھوٹے مینوفیکچرنگ یونٹس ہیں, وہاں پہ اگر دیکھا جائے تو ایس او پی اتنا کمپلیکیٹڈ بھی نہیں ہوگا مقابلے میں ان آرگنائزیشن کے جو ایکسپورٹ اورینٹیڈ ہیں یا جہاں پہ آلریڈی کمپلائنس جو ہے وہ جو ان کے بائرز ہیں ان کی طرف سے بہت ساری ریسٹرکشنز ہیں. تو یہاں پہ تو آپ کو خود دیکھنا پڑے گا. بہت ساری ایس او پیز تو ایسی ہیں جو اتنی کاسٹلی نہیں ہیں. تو آئی تھنک کوئی اتنا بہت بڑا مسئلہ نہیں ہے. اور الحمدللہ اب تو ہمارے کووڈ کی سچویشن بھی اتنی بھیانک نہیں ہے, اور ہم ایک سرٹن لیول کی ایس او پی تو بہرحال پھر بھی اپلائی اپنے اپنے یونٹس میں, کیونکہ آپ دیکھیں آپ گھر میں بھی تو کر ہی رہے ہیں نا چیزیں, تو وہ آپ انڈسٹری میں بھی کر سکتے ہیں. میرا نہیں خیال ہے کہ وہ دس از اے ویری بگ کوشچن اور کوئی بہت بڑی فنڈنگ اس میں ریکوائرمنٹ ہے.
بہت شکریہ مسرور احمد خان صاحب, آئی ٹوٹلی ایگری ود یو. انوار صاحب, یہ بنیادی طور پر صرف جاننے کی یہ ضرورت ہے کہ واقعی اس کے اندر اب ہم نے اپنے گھروں کے اندر تھوڑا ڈسٹینس رکھ رہے ہیں, ہینڈ واشنگ کر رہے ہیں, وہ جو سینیٹائزرز ہے اس کو یوز کر رہے ہیں. اگر ہم ایک دوسرے کے قریب بیٹھنے لگتے ہیں یا کچھ وہ ہے, ہم ماسک استعمال کرتے ہیں, 5-6 فٹ کا فاصلہ. جیسے اب کل میں ایک ٹیلی ویژن پہ گیا تو انہوں نے کہا کہ منیر صاحب یہاں نہیں بیٹھنا, یہ اتنی دور آپ نے بیٹھنا ہے. میں کہ یار پوری دیر ذرا تھوڑا قریب بٹھاؤ تاکہ ذرا تصویر اچھی بن جائے گی. انہوں نے کہا نہیں سر آپ نے 6 فٹ دور بیٹھنا ہے. آپ نے چونکہ ماسک اتارنا ہے, خاتون نے بھی ماسک اتارنا ہے, تو آپ نے 6 فٹ دور بیٹھنا ہے. اس سے پہلے انہوں نے سیٹس کے اوپر, کیونکہ اس سے پہلے بھی کوئی انٹرویو ہوا تھا, کوئی پروگرام ہوا تھا, انہوں نے پورے اسٹوڈیو کے اندر سپریز کیے, سیٹوں کے اوپر سپرے کیے, ہمیں وہ لا کے دیا کہ ہاتھ کر لو, حالانکہ ہم یہ پہلے سے کر رہے تھے. پھر جب اسٹوڈیو سے باہر نکلے تو پھر انہوں نے کہا کہ جی پھر ذرا کہ میں نے خود اپنے اوپر سپرے کیا, گاڑی کے اندر سپرے کیا. تو یہ تھوڑی سی بہت ساری چیزیں ایسی ہیں جو ہمیں اڈاپٹ کرنی پڑیں گی. اور تو یہ کوئی بہت زیادہ کوئی مسئلے والی بات نہیں. ہم گھر کے اندر آتے ہیں باہر سے, ہم جو اپنا کوٹ ہے, بلیزر ہے, چیز ہے, اس کو اتارتے ہیں, اس کے اوپر کووڈ سپریز کرتے ہیں, ڈیٹول والے جو ہیں دوسرے اس کے اوپر کرتے ہیں, کپڑے اتار کے رکھتے ہیں, کچھ چیزیں دھوپ میں رکھ دیتے ہیں. تو یہ وہ چیزیں ہیں جو آلریڈی ہم کر رہے ہیں. اسمال اگر فرض کریں کسی کے پاس اگر 5-10 ورکر ہیں وہ تو آسانی کے ساتھ اس کو کر سکتا ہے, لیکن جو بڑی انڈسٹری ہے وہاں پر تھوڑے مسائل یہ ہو سکتے ہیں کہ ان کا باڈی ٹیمپریچر کا چیک کیا جانا, ان کا ڈسٹنس انشور کرنا, پریمپٹیو میجرز کا انشور کرنا, اور وہ جو ورک انوائرمنٹ ہے اس کو اندر اسپرے کر کے اس کا جو بھی وائرس انفیکشنز پاسبل ہو سکتی ہیں اس کو ختم کرنا. یہ ظاہر ہے وہ چیزیں ہو سکتی ہیں جو میں تھوڑی سی سمجھ پایا ہوں اوور 3-4 months. اس سے پہلے کہ بات ہم تھوڑے سے اور آگے بڑھائیں, جاوید اقبال صاحب آپ مجھے سن سکتے ہیں؟ جاوید اقبال صاحب آپ مجھے سن سکتے ہیں؟ ہیلو جاوید اقبال صاحب, جاوید اقبال صاحب مائک اپنا آن کریں پلیز. جاوید اقبال صاحب آپ اپنا مائک آن کیجئے تاکہ آپ کو ہم سن سکیں. جاوید اقبال صاحب آپ کی آواز ہمیں نہیں آ رہی ہے, آپ موجود تو ہیں؟ ہیلو جاوید اقبال صاحب, سوری میرا خیال ہے کہ جاوید اقبال صاحب کنیکٹ نہیں کر پا رہے اور ان کا کوئی ہمارے ساتھ رابطہ جو ہے اس طرح سے نہیں آ رہا. میں بہت شکر گزار ہوں ان کے کوئی جو ہمارے ملک اشرف صاحب ہیں, پریزیڈنٹ سیالکوٹ چیمبر آف کامرس اینڈ انڈسٹری, ہم نے ان کو بھی انوائٹ کیا تھا لیکن سم ہاؤ وہ نہیں کنیکٹ کر پائے. جاوید صاحب کی ہمیں آواز نہیں آ رہی, اور انفارچونیٹلی اگر ابھی بھی آواز آ رہی ہے جاوید اقبال صاحب تو یو کین ٹاک اباؤٹ شپ بریکنگ انڈسٹری. نہیں آ رہی تو لیکن میں اس کے ساتھ مسرور احمد خان صاحب, نیشنل پروگرام کوآرڈینیٹر یونیڈو, آپ کا شکر گزار ہوں. ڈاکٹر ندیم احمد خان صاحب, میں آپ کا بھی شکر گزار ہوں. آپ نے پائی یونیورسٹی سے ہمیں ایکڈیمک لرننگ جو ہے اس میں ہمیں اب میرا خیال ہے کہ اپنے جاوید اقبال صاحب میں نظر آنا شروع ہو گئے ہیں. ابھی ہم کنکلوڈ کرنے والے تھے لیکن میرا خیال ہے کہ ہم تھوڑی
ہلو
جی جاوید صاحب ہم آپ کا کافی دیر سے انتظار کر رہے ہیں اور آپ کو آوازیں دے رہے تھے.
نہیں I'm very sorry جی, بس وہ ذرا وہ کچھ
اچھا سر, ابھی آپ نے ہماری کچھ گفتگو تو سنی ہوگی, ہم نے انڈسٹری کے حوالے سے آج بات کی کہ نیو نارمل کے اندر انڈسٹری کیا ہوگی. آپ فوکل پرسن ہے پاکستان ایسوسی ایشن آف شپ بریکرز کا. شپ بریکنگ جو ہے آپ کی تصویر ٹھیک نہیں آ رہی, فریم ٹھیک نہیں ہے اس وقت, اگر آپ تھوڑا سا یہ اب ٹھیک ہو گیا ہے. تھینک یو ویری مچ. اب مجھے ذرا تھوڑا سا یہ ذرا بتا دیجئے, کیونکہ ابھی ہم کنکلوڈ کرنے والے تھے, کہ کیا ایس او پیز, کیا چیلنجز ہوں گے شپ بریکنگ انڈسٹری کو جب انڈسٹری کھل جائے گی. دوسرا سنا تو یہ بھی ہے کہ کچھ تو آپ لوگوں نے انڈسٹری کو کھول دیا ہے شپ بریکنگ کو, تو کون سے ایس او پیز ابھی آپ ان پہ عمل کر رہے ہیں اور کون سے ایس او پیز آپ کو مزید ہوں گے اور چیلنجز کیا ہوں گے ان دی کمنگ ڈیز؟ جاوید اقبال صاحب.
جناب اس طرح ہے کہ آلریڈی فار دا لاسٹ آلموسٹ 3 years ہم نے گڈانی شپ بریکنگ یارڈ کو.
اچھا جاوید صاحب آپ ذرا فریم ایڈجسٹ کر رہے ہیں سر اپنا, آپ ٹھیک طرح سے کیمرے میں نہیں آ رہے.
سوری ایکچولی وہ اسپیکر تھوڑا سا وہ ہے اس وجہ سے.
پلیز
آئی ایس او دیکھیں 9,000 14,000 18,000 ہم لوگوں نے تقریباً all yards have become certified. And lately this year almost 2 or 3 yards have also got the ISO 30,000. Unfortunately last 1.5 year there was not much activity at Gadani. In fact last 4 months it was almost a shutdown complete. So now things have started moving, so we are hoping to adopt the latest ISO 30,000. تو ہو گیا ہے, but we are going towards HKC, Hong Kong Convention and all that. Because in order to compete with the other countries like India, Bangladesh, we need to adopt all these measures so that we are able to get these vessels cheaper, especially those flying the European flag, who are destined only for those yards which are green. In other words, who are having the HKC certified. So this is the plan for the immediate future.
سر گورنمنٹ نے کوئی آپ کو ایس او پیز ایشو کی ہیں یا آپ نے اپنی ایس او پیز بنائی ہیں؟
جی
گورنمنٹ آف پاکستان نے آپ کو کوئی ایس او پیز ایشو کی ہیں یا آپ نے اپنی کوئی بنائی ہیں؟ کوئی گورنمنٹ کی طرف سے آپ کو کوئی ہدایت نامہ آیا کہ شپ بریکنگ میں کون کون سے آپ نے اقدامات لینے ہیں تاکہ جو کووڈ کی وجہ سے کوئی زیادہ مسائل پیدا نہ ہوں؟
دیکھیے آلریڈی جو بلوچستان گڈانی میں جو کام ہو رہا ہے, that is according to the SOP issued by the Environment Department. Balochistan government, it was done in 2000, I think it was 18. So according to that, the industry was working, and the last 3 months, sometime in the month of March, with the coming of this pandemic, the Karachi Port Trust got their SOPs issued, and in same manner, the Balochistan government, the BDA, Balochistan Development Authority and the Environment Protection Agency, they also got their SOPs issued, which are very much similar to what is happening in Karachi.
Okay.
For example, the arrival of the ship, the certifications, the vaccination certifications, the COVID test, and all about that. That is being done.
اوکے, فیوچر چیلنجز کیا ہوں گے جب یہ ظاہر ہے کہ ابھی تو آپ نے بہت تھوڑے چھوٹے لیول کے اوپر یہ اوپن کیا ہے, جب زیادہ جہاز آ جائیں گے, زیادہ ہیومن ریسورس اس کے اندر انگیج ہوگی, تو سر جاوید صاحب اس وقت کیا صورتحال بنے گی؟ کیونکہ پاکستان میں ہم نے دیکھا ہے کہ جب مسجدیں کھولی گئیں تو بہت سارے ایس او پیز عمل نہیں ہوا, جب مارکیٹس کھولی گئیں تب بھی ایس او پیز کے اوپر عمل نہیں ہوا, جب وہ بہت زیادہ کووڈ اسپریڈ ہو گیا تو تب لوگوں کو خیال آیا کہ نہیں ہم نے مسجدوں میں بھی ایس او پیز پہ امپلیمنٹیشن کرنی ہے, مارکیٹس میں اور یہ جو ٹریڈ وینیوز ہیں وہاں پر بھی کرنی ہے. لیکن یہ ایک سانحے کے بعد ہم کیوں سیکھتے ہیں؟ کیا ہم آپ کی جو شپ بریکنگ اس میں ہے کہ کتنی ہیومن ریسورس انگیج ہوتی ہے، اور کیا وہاں پر کوئی ایسا سپریڈ ہونے کے چانسز، کیونکہ ہم زیادہ اس کو ہیلتھ لینس سے دیکھ رہے ہیں کہ کیا صورتحال ہوگی؟
دیکھیے things are very simple. When the vessel arrives, just like a vessel coming to Karachi port or Port Qasim, تو وہاں پہ visit to the ship is strictly monitored by the port health officer.
Okay.
Same port health officer monitors the ship arriving at Gadani. Thereafter, جب ship لگ جاتا ہے تو then the COVID test is performed by the laboratories here, which is also condition of the airlines. Qatar Airline, Emirates Airline, they all have the SOPs, and the COVID test is to be done. In fact, today also a couple of vessels are being tested by the laboratories, and only after the report comes, the crew is allowed to disembark and proceed direct to the airport.
Okay, okay.
جیسے مطلب عام فلائٹوں میں لوگ جاتے ہیں آتے ہیں، سیم کیس ان گڈانی کو there is no dissimilarity. فرق دیکھیں نا، اب ایک شپ ہے اس میں about 10, 15, 20 یا میکسیمم 25 کرو ہوتے ہیں، تو ان کو ہم نے ٹیک کیئر کرنا ہے کہ بھائی تمام جو مطلب کہ ریکوائرمنٹس ہیں وہ میٹ ہوں. لیکن اگر آپ ایئر کرافٹ کو دیکھتے ہیں، ایئرپورٹ کو دیکھتے ہیں، تو وہاں تو ہزاروں کی تعداد میں لوگ آ رہے ہیں، لوگ جا رہے ہیں. تو what I'm saying کہ الحمدللہ وہ ایسا کوئی ایشو مجھے نظر نہیں آ رہا. سمپلی یہ ہے کہ اس کو ہم نے SOPs کو فالو کرنا ہے, which is being adhered to by the Port Health Authority from Karachi Port, as well as the Port Health Authority from Gadani. The Gadani Town Committee also has a doctor who, after all the COVID tests, everything is done, he takes a final temperature when the crew disembarks just to see کہ کہیں پہ کوئی چیز مس تو نہیں ہوگی.
اوکے تھینک یو سو مچ. ہمارے جو ایکسپرٹس ہیں ان کو کوئی شپ بریکنگ کے حوالے سے کوئی بات اگر کرنا چاہیں جاوید صاحب سے. سر کوئی کویسچن؟
جی جاوید صاحب سے میں سوال کرنا چاہوں گا.
جی مسرور صاحب. جاوید صاحب, مسرور احمد خان صاحب نیشنل پروگرام کوآرڈینیٹر ہیں یونیڈو کے ساتھ, جو کہ گورنمنٹ آف پاکستان کے ساتھ مختلف جگہوں پہ SOPs کو ڈیولپ کرنے, دوسری UN ایجنسیز کے ساتھ, اور اس کی امپلیمنٹیشن میں رول ادا کرنے کی کوشش کر رہے ہیں. وہ آپ سے ایک سوال کر رہے ہیں جاوید صاحب. جی مسرور صاحب.
جی جاوید صاحب السلام علیکم. جی جاوید صاحب آپ کو میری آواز آ رہی ہے؟
جاوید صاحب کا مائک آن ہے. جاوید صاحب اپنا مائک آن کریں اور مسرور صاحب کی ذرا آواز سنیں. اپنا مائک آن کریں.
I think is it okay now?
Yes, it's okay sir.
جی جاوید صاحب السلام علیکم. جاوید صاحب.
جی سر.
جاوید صاحب میرا سوال یہ تھا کہ آپ نے مجھے جیسے ابھی بتایا کہ ISO 14000 پہ بھی آپ لوگ امپلیمنٹڈ آلریڈی سرٹیفائڈ ہیں. ماضی میں کچھ عرصے پہلے ہم نے کچھ ایسے انسیڈنٹس دیکھے تھے جس میں کہ شپس پہ فائر اور ایکسپلوژن کے واقعات ہوئے تھے.
جی
تو مجھے یہ پوچھنا تھا کہ اس سلسلے میں شپ بریکنگ انڈسٹری نے کیا وہ کچھ اسٹیپس لیے ہیں, اور 14000 میں وہ چیزیں شامل ہیں, یا آپ اس کو ہیلتھ کے پرسپیکٹو سے دیکھ رہے ہیں؟ تو کیا اقدامات لیے گئے ہیں کہ کیونکہ ابھی آپ ہی نے یا غالباً منیر صاحب نے بڑی اچھی بات کی تھی کہ ہم لوگ کسی سانحہ ہونے کا انتظار کرتے ہیں. مطلب جب بھی کوئی آج کل جیسے آپ دیکھیں کہ ریلوے کا جتنی ٹرینز جو ہیں وہ ٹکرا رہی ہیں انمینڈ کراسنگ پہ, اب شاید ہوش آیا ہے لوگوں کو. تو ہمارا یہ کلچر بن گیا ہے کہ جب تک کوئی ایکسیڈنٹ نہ ہو تو جب تک ہم کوئی کام نہیں کرتے ہیں. تو شپ بریکنگ انڈسٹری نے کوئی اسٹیپس لیے ہیں to prevent this incidents?
دیکھیے جی, یہاں پہ جو انوائرمنٹل ڈپارٹمنٹ ہے بلوچستان کوئٹہ میں, ان کی SOPs 2018 اور 2019 میں بنی اور اس میں ترمیمیں ہوتی رہی. اس وقت جو شپ بریکنگ ایکٹیویٹیز جو جہازوں پہ ہوتی ہے تو دیٹ از اسٹرکٹلی اکارڈنگ ٹو دی SOPs laid down by the government and accepted by the association. and being followed by each and every shipyard, and the jamadar ya thekedar jo hai wo bhi bilkul matlab hai ki he is connected with the following of those SOPs. For example, any labor entering the yard, going on the ship, he is checked, tested कि he is not carrying any cigarette or any matches or anything of that sort. उसके अलावा जो यूनिफॉर्म्स हैं उसके बारे में बहुत एहतियात किया जा रहा है. उसके अलावा जैसे टैंकर की अगर ब्रेकिंग होती है तो उसके लिए गाइडलाइंस जो हैं वो तय हो गई हैं. जैसे टैंकर का पंप रूम है तो उसको कैसे डिस्मेंटल किया जाए. इसी तरीके से हर इस किस्म की एक्टिविटी जहाँ पे कोई थोड़ा भी अगर चांस है ऑफ एनी एक्सीडेंट तो उसको खास तौर से नॉट ओनली द एनवायरनमेंट डिपार्टमेंट बट इवन दी इंटरनल आप समझें कि जो शिप यार्ड है उसके अंदर टीम उन्होंने फॉर्म की है हु आर टेकिंग दी नेसेसरी प्रिकॉशंस. और अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह आफ्टर दी formation of these SOPs in 2018, this is 2020. In the last 2 years कोई अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ऐसा इंसिडेंट हुआ नहीं है. I know कि 2016 में जो इंसिडेंट्स हुए थे that was one of their kind, क्योंकि last 30 or 40 years history of the industry in Pakistan, our safety measures were far better than those prevailing in Bangladesh or in India, and there are numerous cases of accidents happening there. But I'm not saying that this is never going to happen here. No, these are accidents, they can happen anywhere. But the steps that have been taken, I think they are quite fruitful, and good results have come, and we pray that touch wood they remain like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Javed Iqbal Saab, for your explanation to words like SOPs you are implementing over there. मैं सबका अब आखिर में शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ. थैंक यू सो मच मसरूर अहमद खान साहब, नेशनल प्रोग्राम कोऑर्डिनेटर यूनिडो, हेड ऑफ HR एंड बिजनेस, पाइड यूनिवर्सिटी, जनाब नदीम अहमद खान साहब, जावेद इकबाल साहब, फोकल पर्सन शिप ब्रेकिंग एसोसिएशन पाकिस्तान, और आपका भी अनवारुल हक साहब, बहुत शुक्रिया आपने पार्टिसिपेट किया और हमारे साथ रहे. फिर किसी वेबिनार के ऊपर या किसी और कंसल्टेटिव प्रोसेस में हम एक दूसरे के साथ मिलेंगे. बहुत शुक्रिया. अल्लाह हाफिज़.